Hello everybody, this is Count VHS, and today we're looking at something very special. We're looking at the original medieval Total War Viking Invasion expansion included. This is my first Total War game. It's the first and the last in a few different ways. This is the first medieval game, right? It's the sequel to Shogun 1. Came out a couple of years after that. In 2002, I think, was the release date for this. It was the first Total War game that I ever played, got me hooked on the series. But it was also the last. It was the last 2D campaign map that the Total War series would use. And although I understand, in some ways that the newer 3D campaign maps offer some more strategic possibilities, I think something was lost in the transition. And so what I want to do today is look at this game, look at back. We're going to do a Let's Play. Haven't quite decided what we're going to do yet, but let's look at the different campaign options we have because there's quite a bit to do, and then we'll jump in. So for the single player, we're going to go for new campaign. We'll go on expert. And we have 4 campaigns to choose from. We've got the Vikings campaign. I probably spent most of my time playing on this little map because I loved the zoomed-in version of the British Isles. The fact that it felt a little more realistic. You'd have a lot of these smaller wars, and instead of conquering France in 3 battles or whatever, you'd have to really fight for making some elbow room. And so I liked that narrowed down focus. You had, let's see, we've got the Vikings over here as one of the factions. They were kind of a unified Norse-Danish faction, and they would just sort of zoom around the seas and terrorize the other native factions. And so I actually preferred to play these guys who are building up kingdoms on the British Isles. You had the Irish, is what this green faction was called. Let's actually jump in and see what the different factions are. Yeah, the Irish here, which is probably a combination of like Leinster and Mead, I guess. It looks like the rough territory of those two factions. This is an interesting faction because they were very skirmish heavy, but they didn't have any bows or slings. It was just javelins. No bowmen, just throwing spears. But they had lots of different spear throwing abilities. They also had very few units of the line. So they had spearmen, they had armored spearmen, but that was as good as it got. So you didn't really have a battle line. You had a kind of ever-shifting line of guys who would throw spears and then fall back and then choose when to attack. You had a few units that were really tough, like Gallowglasses, which were sort of a shock troop. But otherwise, it was a very light and interesting faction to control in the battlefield, and it really taught me how to use ranged units. Actually, the Mercians, probably the easiest faction on the map. Possession of a lot of pretty wealthy territory. You do have some neighbors to worry about, but you're pretty isolated from the Vikings, so that makes things a little bit easier. Not a bad campaign, but a little boring. This is one of the English factions, so they'd get your basic roster of spearmen, feardmen, that type of thing. The Northumbrians. This was definitely my favorite English faction, just because it was a more difficult start. I always liked Northumbria as well, just based on Anglo-Saxon history. So this was my go-to, and I would just often fire up a Northumbria campaign and turtle and wait until I died, because there's just something fun and fatalistic about trying to fight the long defeat. In fact, if you go to totalwar.org, I did a sort of an AAR of the last days of one of my kings, who was actually a usurper, because this game was so good. So in both the base game and in the Viking Invasion expansion, you could have civil wars, right? Now that happens in just about every Total War. It doesn't seem that revolutionary, but in this game particularly, you could choose which side to back in the civil war. So if you suffer a civil war, you're not just stuck with your king at the time and trying to crush the rebels. You could decide, you know what? I'm going to be taking over the helm of the rebels. And the old king, he's going to be the rebels now, and the rebel is going to be the faction. And so what I remember doing in this one campaign is backing one of the rebels, and I still lost anyway, but it was a glorious defeat, if you understand. It was just it was a huge amount of fun. So the Northumbrians, extremely basic roster, but I love that about them too. They didn't have any super units. They had woodsmen, was their unique unit that they got, which is basically the peasants with axes. And so I also like that about them. Just an extremely basic roster, but some scrappy, tough units in a very difficult position. You had the Picts, which was, let's see, the start date here is 793, so the Picts were, maybe they were still around, I guess, in some sense, but they had an awful lot of territory. You're probably going to suffer some Viking attacks, but the Picts had some interesting units. They had berserkers, which is a little odd, but they also had crossbowmen. They had mounted crossbowmen as well, which seems very anachronistic, but there was some evidence on stone inscriptions that the Picts did know of crossbows, at least, perhaps used them for hunting. But of course, this game took that and cranked it up and said, yeah, let's give them a bunch of crossbow units in battle. What else did they have? Some basic Celtic units, I guess. They had Celtic warriors, which are kind of swordsmen who just charged in and didn't have very much for defense. So an interesting faction as well. The Saxons were one of the easier factions, although they do have to watch out for Viking invasions along the coast. This was basically Wessex, so I didn't play them too much. The Scots, this was another fun one. Extremely scrappy faction. So you start with some territory in Northern Ireland, as well as the seaboard. You're extremely poor at the beginning, and you have basically Highland clansmen, which is a bit anachronistic, but it's what they had from the original base game, so they just brought it back into the expansion. But that's your unique unit, which is an extremely aggressive but not great on defense kind of unit. So it was kind of fun to use them as well. And then you had the Vikings, which were all about sailing, smashing stuff, and then leaving. And they had extremely tough units, but a pretty bad economy. And so you really needed to raid, and you could just wreck people, no matter the odds. If you had a nice sort of slope to stand on, and any amount of your heavier units, you could come out victorious. So it was kind of fun to play the Vikings, but I think my favorite, and I think the faction we're going to play here, is the Welsh. This was an extremely ridiculous start position. You've got this long strip of land, you've got 3 factions that you neighbor, and then you've got the Vikings, theoretically, who could sail around at will, basically, and grab some territory from you. So this is a hard difficulty rating, and yeah, let's do it, actually. I was going to look at the medieval map, but as soon as I saw the Welsh, I thought, no, we'll do that later, because the medieval, the full map of Europe was also lovely, and it had some great mechanics. Unfortunately, the Viking Invasion map does not allow glorious achievements, which was my preferred style of winning. So what we have to do in order to win is to conquer 2/3 of the map, and so probably that will involve us going into central England, I guess, taking out Mercia. But a thing that I like to do with the Welsh, even though it's kind of suicide, is turtling. And so that's probably what we're going to do. I mean, you could, or certainly, if you want to play well, if you want to win the game, what you would do is take these starting units, drop them into these territories, and watch the Welsh withdraw, or the Mercians withdraw, and then keep going and corner their king somewhere, and then just beat him before they can train those tough Huscarl units. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do the stupid, make it harder than it needs to be kind of thing. So what we want to do first is build a warrior hold. You don't get any defense at all in this game for a while. So you get a warrior hold, which is at least going to give your people some place to retreat to. So right now, if the Saxons invade me, I would have to fight or I would have to withdraw, but I can't withdraw, so I'd basically just lose the province. I wouldn't have the option of withdrawing into the settlement, because I don't have a settlement, so I need to build that before I can do anything else. Let's see who we've got down here anyway. We've got, 1 loyalty on this guy, 2 loyalty on the archer, and 3 loyalty on the peasant. Why is it always the peasants who have better loyalty? I really don't want to make him the prince. I mean, he's a peasant unit. So the way rebellion works, since we're on the topic, is each of your generals has a loyalty stat. I can't remember how high this goes. It may go up to 10, I'm not sure. But 2 is not good. As you can see, this man is either considering attempting a coup or well on his road to organizing one. This guy, a loyalty of 1, big problem. You can just tell, by the look on his face, he doesn't look trustworthy. And this guy here, 3, not good, but we can give any of them this title, which is going to increase their loyalty by 1, as well as their dread, command, and piety. All of these titles give different bonuses, but they all will give at least 1 shield of loyalty. So the smart move would be to give it to this peasant. And I think I'm going to do that just temporarily, just so that we don't get a rebellion. Now, the other thing is, rebellions can happen based on who's in their own stack. So this guy's feeling very loyal, but right now he's not commanding the army. So this guy could rebel, or this guy could rebel, and they're counted as sort of separate armies. So that's another sort of interesting feature of this. Now, our economy is really bad. So 297. Let's get the taxes up to very high. Okay, over here we're looking a bit better. Now, remember that Gwent, yes, historically this region was famous for its archers. Units of this type trained here gain a +1 valor bonus. So we're going to want to turn this into the archer province. And we're going to go with a warrior hold there, and then we're going to be able to build some military infrastructure. And we may as well give this guy, since he's got some acumen, although this guy has more. So what these things do, I should probably talk about this. It's been a while, so I may be not 100% correct with all this, but loyalty works, as I've said. Piety has to do with how happy the people are in the province if they share the same faith. And since for the most part we're going to be dealing with other Christians, Catholic Christians in this part of the world, then that's all we're going to have to worry about. So this is good. You know, he's got 5 piety. That's fine. Dread has to do with basically cowing the native population. It has nothing to do with battles. That's one thing that Medieval 2 changed that I think was a good change. That Dread had an effect in battles of decreasing the enemy morale. In Medieval 1, Dread just affected, it was a governance trait. So piety affects how happy the people are with you if they share the same religion. Dread is kind of good everywhere in a way because it makes people fear you. So it makes them more loyal by just cowing them into submission. Okay, so the acumen, though, has to do with how much money you make. So we can say now that Gwent is making 47, which is not a lot. And we can give this guy the Prince of Gwent title, and now it's making 66. We'll also notice that the loyalty has jumped up by 10, so we can afford to increase that again. So we'll put those guys back in the same group. Here in Poes, we've got our king, King Caradoc I. So he's married. He is of royal blood, which is important. Of course, he's the king, but this is something that the game tracks. So if you have, let's say he has a bunch of sons, which he does, and we'll look at those shortly. They will all be of royal blood, but sometimes what will happen, of course, is that the king will die, one of his sons will take over, but his other sons will remain. They will still have royal blood. So in other words, this trait is not going to go away. Once one of those kings dies, once the second generation king dies, his son may take over, and in that case, he'll have some uncles who have royal blood, and that's when things start to get a little dicey. Because being a non-heir, non-king, but you have royal blood, makes you a potential leader in a civil war scenario. And civil war is a thing in this game. And so, yeah, maybe we'll have the opportunity to talk about that a little bit later. So it's very exciting stuff. In some ways, the campaign mechanics in Medieval 1 are just friggin' spectacular and blow away some of the stuff that you see in Rome and Medieval 2 even. Medieval 2 got some things right, but the campaign was not one of them. Like, what did they add? Merchants? Big deal. Here you had baronial revolts, civil wars, just a ton of cool stuff. You also have some traits. This guy's got rough justice, which is giving +2 to dread and -10 happiness. I think for the faction leader, what dread does is it affects the happiness of all provinces. Not 100% sure on that. This game was not the best at telegraphing what its stats did. He's got good command, he's got decent acumen, good piety, all right, and he's got 4 influence. This affects, hard to say. It says it affects like diplomacy is what that implies, but I think it affects loyalty as well. So the more influence you get, the more loyal your other faction governors are. So we're going to want to increase that. Let's see. Do we have anyone we can send up here to be governor to get this guy under their thumb? Or actually, we could do this. We could put this guy in charge of Poes. He's pretty loyal. Give him a command star. And then we can move the king up to Clyde, maybe. Let's give him an archer and see how that works in terms of public order. Oh yeah, that'll be fine. And then we can get them all up to very high taxes, and I can press the shift key and see this lovely, lovely green color. I like this shade for some reason. That indicates that everyone's very happy. If they were not happy, it would be yellow, and if they were revolting or close to, it would be a sort of a red color. Okay, so we're going to get these guys in the same stack, and do I want to make him Prince of Clyde? Probably not. We'll build up here as well, because we want a warrior hold there. And Gwent we're building in Poes. We already have the, what is it called? The fortified village, so we could go for a fort, which is going to be the first real fortification, where they're going to have to, try to bash their way through gates. This is like the tier 3 settlement level, but it doesn't even have a gate. It's just a sort of a kind of a walled enclosure, so they can just walk in. Fun times in Viking Invasion. Okay, so what are we going to build here? I guess a fort would be good. We can, because we already have some military infrastructure, we can already train spearmen, archers, peasants, and Celtic warriors because of that barracks building that we've got. Now, it's fairly anachronistic for the period, but that's one of the flaws of the old game. Okay, so what do we want to do here? I think for us to upgrade any more barracks, I don't think there's also no building browser, so suck it up. You have to just remember what goes where and what does what. I think we probably, though, we might benefit from some horsemen, so let's do that. We will want to build a fort pretty soon, and since we may as well get going, those Celtic warriors are quite cheap on the upkeep, so let's do that. All right, so 793. This, of course, is the event that's going to signal the attack on Northumbria, attack on Lindisfarne, and the first notable Viking invasion that entered the British psyche, so to speak. So that's just indicating that. We've got a trait. Lord Cadog, where was he? Lord Madog, he's a materialist. Very good. It gives him +1 acumen. So we're making some decent money in Gwent. And what do we have here? Okay, so much better loyalty on this guy. So do we want to keep him here or move him up into the north? What we do want to do is capture the other provinces of Wales, because they got some good resources. Our economy in our home territories is not the best. We do have some resources. Iron is going to be good. We've got actually pretty plentiful iron. Up here we can go for our infantry types, and they'll benefit from that iron. Down here, our archers are going to benefit from the iron. Nothing spectacular in Poes, but we do have some silver deposits. But Gwent has copper, or Gwynedd rather, and Defet has gold. So this is going to be a rich place for us to take. And as soon as we get enough men trained, we're going to go ahead and invade the rebels. So let's get a spear unit, actually. And what are we making? 350. So I think we want to keep building in these provinces, even though it is costing us money. Let's see. Christian shrine, that's going to improve morale. I think morale works in this game, morale improvements through buildings. I think it's bugged in Rome, but it does work in Medieval 1, if I remember correctly. Farms were also different, that's right. So first you have to build a forest clearing, which is not so much a building as it is cutting down a bunch of trees. This is pretty expensive and it takes a long time, and then you can build your basic farms. And then once you've done this, which is also 16 turns to build, 1,500 florins to build, you can then get your improved farmland 20%, which is like the base thing you could get in the base European game. So a lot harder to get to the basic tiers of agriculture in Viking Invasion. So this is always a very risky build because you're investing a lot into it, and it could just be, you're halfway through and some Vikings come in to sack the place and you've lost all that progress. But I think we want watchtowers here and yeah, here. In Clyde, yeah, let's go with that as well. Okay, we've got disloyal generals. This could start a civil war, so let's see. And we've got an heir. Very nice. I forgot to look at that. Okay. So Lord Rodri is unfortunately a chinless wonder. Perhaps one or two of this man's close ancestors were a little too close, resulting in an unconventional family tree. -1 acumen, -1 command. So that's going to be hurting his effectiveness. Prince Conan came of age, and he's a drinker, so -1 command, and that's not great. Some of the traits in this game were just a pain. But you had to live with them. Okay, we've got, I think, enough here that we can take on this rebel army. Now, one cool thing about this game is that you can kind of see what terrain you are going into by, selecting the province you're invading from and then mousing over the province you want to invade to. So we can see here that it's going to be mountains, and there are no waterways here. But if I were to look at Gwent, let's see, and I were to say that if the Saxons are going to invade Gwent, let's say they do a surprise attack, what are they going to find? A river. Flatland and mountains and a river, which means flatland and mountains from their perspective means the terrain is going to go up, and they're going to have to fight across a bridge or two. And so I can take that into account when I'm setting up my my army composition here, because I know that I'm going to have to defend a bridge and some high ground. Similarly, if anyone invades into Poes, they're going to be facing flatland and mountains, meaning that I will have the high ground. On the other hand, if I attack them, it'll be mountains and flatland, meaning that I'll start at the mountains and they'll be down at the flat. So, gives me some sense of the terrain. But anyway, let's get into the first battle. I'm thinking about throwing Prince Conan into it, because if he dies, no big deal. So currently the rebels are neutral. That's fine. 2-star commander here, but we've got archers and Celtic warriors. I'm not too worried about it. Let's see. Let's send the spearmen, the Celtic warriors, and do we have another archer unit to throw in? Yeah, let's do this. Okay, we're still looking very happy there. I could afford to send another unit, actually. And I don't think that that Mercia is going to attack me while I'm doing this. So I'll do that, and then I'll bring these units back and take out Defet. That's the plan. Okay, so, and we get a nice... Here's the other thing. I mean, they did battle previews way back then. Rome didn't do this. Medieval 2 didn't do this, I don't think. Certainly not a panning camera view of where you're going to be attacking or defending. So, yeah, nothing too surprising here. We're going to have a unit of archers, a unit of Celtic warriors, and we should be good. So here we are. Here we are in the battle. I'd like to get rid of this. This radar screen, just to resize it down. It's just a little annoying. And you can perhaps tell that the UI and the controls are very different. And if you see me kind of struggling to do stuff, that's why, because the controls here are so bad. But yeah, we'll attack fine throughout the day. We've got archers, but they've got archers. Now, we don't get to set up wherever we want when we're attacking. You do that when you're defending. The later games are much more generous. You could set up anywhere on the field, but if you're the attacker, the idea is the defender gets all of the advantage of setting up. You just get to choose an army formation if you want. What I like to do is just group them all, and then I can just do something like that and march them all out. So, I mean, this is what it is. We've got 2D sprites. Here's our Celtic warriors. It's our royal bodyguards. The archers. This is just the same archer that you had in the medieval game. I think Celtic warriors were also in the original medieval game. Certainly they were. They are available, but I'm not sure which came first: Viking Invasion or these guys. Spearmen were available in the original one too, so not a lot of new unit. I guess models isn't the right word, but unit sprites. Although I think these are different. Royal bodyguards here looking slightly different. They're not the same as like the Royal Knights or anything that you would find in the original medieval game. But let's speed it up. Alright, and they're going to be camping right at the top there, so I think I can... Yeah, I can change the orientation here and go up this way. now they're going to, yeah, they're already shooting. So let's get all of these guys and we'll just rush them forward. Units move quite a bit slower in this than they do in the newer titles. So that's one thing I'm noticing now. Now, they're going to have high ground, and how many flags do they have? Just one. That's right, the commander had 2 stars. So what I'm going to do, actually, is halt you, and we're going to see if we can just kind of bait them down and maybe push the archers away. Okay, there they go. Yeah, these guys are marching as fast as they can, but still quite slow. So yeah, this gave you a lot of time to you know, do your maneuvers and stuff. But fatigue was also more important, I think, in Medieval 1 than it was in some of the later titles. Alright, we want to get those Celtic warriors tied up if we can. Alright, and let's see, the archers are fine there. Yeah, they're running after our General Cav. This is not ideal. They're probably going to do a lot of damage to my spearmen there. Yeah, we're losing. If we can get the general, there's a lot more ground up here than I thought. Alright, I think they should be routing pretty soon, because as they're marching away, we're just sniping them down with our cav. So they're not routing, but they're kind of withdrawing away from us.
The enemy general
yep, there we go.
his true colors as a coward and flees.
Alright, so that's good, but the Celtic warriors are still a big problem here. So my spearmen are routing. I'm just going to fire into them. I've got 91 of these guys, but see, we're quite tired already. And they could come back, but I think actually we've got them down to close enough to 0 that we'll just keep on them with our general. Just the sounds of these guys, too. Like, there's one death sound. It just sounds like the guy's belching. It's just hilarious. Alright, there we go. So I'll stop firing with my archers, throw them in. And did we get the enemy general? I guess we must have.
Your soldiers have captured the enemy general.
Alrighty. We'll just run them off the field there, and that should be that. You could also save replays, that's right. Alright, so we've taken Gwynedd, and I don't know exactly what this means. Value of confiscated lands is 443. We captured 31 men, including 2 nobles, and they named the nobles, which is nice. It's probably the general and the other commander of the Celtic warriors there. So I guess maybe we get this money. I'm not sure. But in any case, we have 3 choices here. Execute them all. This happens when you capture rebels. Execute the ringleaders, or release them all. And I think what happens is execute them all. I think it basically has to do with your dread. So the general who executes them all would be increasing his dread, releasing them all would be decreasing dread, and executing the ringleaders might be just a middle ground option. I'm not sure what the benefit is to doing any of these. A lot of times I do the middle one just because I'm not sure what to do. But let's execute them all. We'll increase the dread of either the general or the king. I'm not sure. Okay, so we got another son. We also have a princess coming of age. Let's see here. We can check her out. there. Princess Mary's 16 years old, so that means we can send her around as an emissary, which is great because we don't have any other agents. This game was a lot more stingy with the agents, so it took a while of teching up before you could build things like diplomats or emissaries, as they called them, spies and assassins. You could get them, but it just took a little longer. So having a princess at this stage of the game is kind of nice. We could use her for loyalty, or we could use her just as a spy, or we could use her to try to get an alliance. I'm not sure what we could do. Now, one thing, if we wanted to play it safe, we could try to get an alliance with the Vikings, because they would take it and they would be the best friends ever for the entire campaign. The Vikings are basically interested in raiding for the most part, and if they have an alliance with you, they're not going to betray it. They start off, I think, at war with everybody. Oh, actually, no, they don't. At war with nobody. But they're very likely to come into war with lots of factions, and so they're very likely to get ceasefire and alliance offers accepted with them. So this boat here could be a problem, but I don't think they'll attack us this early. Let's get the princess over into this part, I guess. What do I want to do? You know what I want to do? I want to attack Northumbria. It just seems cool. Back before the Viking period, you had, Cadwallon and Penda forming an alliance and attacking Northumbria, so I think that's what I want to do. It's not the best option, but we're doing suboptimal stuff in this campaign. So we've got some building, and we're making 500 now, so that by itself has improved our economy, but very bad public order here. You can see Gwynedd is in red. So we'll go with the hold. Actually, Watchtower is the best for public order. So I think the thing we need to do is start training other stuff. And spearmen are going to be fine there. We can send them on to help the public order of that province. And what else do we want to do? I guess we'll have watchtowers in Poes. Clyde, okay, so border forts. I'm not going to build border forts. I don't like them. They're actually really good, but they're too good is the problem. So watchtowers just give you line of sight into the neighboring settlement. Otherwise, all I could tell if I didn't have a watchtower. Let's see, like here I do have a watchtower. Where do I not? Well, I guess it's kind of irrelevant now. I've built watchtowers most every place. But if I don't have a watchtower, I could see like just this, that there is an army here, that they have this warrior's hold, but I can't tell exactly how many men are in the army. If I clicked it, it wouldn't show me any information. Now that I have a watchtower, though, I can click it and it'll tell me exactly what's in the army. Border forts, though, add another level of security. It says all border crossings are covered, giving a good chance of catching and killing enemy spies and assassins as they attempt to enter. In my experience, this is like a 100% chance of catching and killing enemy spies and assassins. It is just about guaranteed. And so I don't like to do that. What I like to do instead is train up my own spies and assassins and use them as counter spies in my homelands, because that gives them experience. Otherwise, the border fort is going to catch the enemies all the time, and my own spies are not going to get better. So you leave your spies around to do some counter spying, they get good experience, and then you can send them out to do some fun stuff later on. But let's for now keep going in the provinces where we want to improve. Corny is looking very good, actually, so I think we can go ahead and spend a bunch everywhere. Watchtower's completed, yes. Child is born. Okay, so already that's up to yellow. It's up to 97%. And I think this is going to just continue to get better anyway, so not too worried about it. I can bring this guy over, but we'll probably bring him right back. Okay, so we've got alliances between the Saxons and the Northumbrians. I'd like to get an alliance with Mercia. If they won't take it, then I will... I'll probably take a couple of provinces off of them anyway, but ultimately I want to expand up into the north. Recapturing the old north, that's going to be the plan. Okay, we've got a Scots bishop who's going to offer an alliance, and in Medieval 1, lots of agents could do lots of different things. That was kind of cool. Later games, well, they did actually in like Rome 2 and that era of games, they gave them lots of stuff to do. But in Rome and Medieval 1, they were a little more restricted. or medieval 2 rather. So medieval 1, a bishop, of course, is going to spread Catholicism, but he's also going to do things like offer alliances or ceasefires. Okay, so he's looking for an alliance from me. I could take it, I guess, but maybe I won't. I don't really need it. Okay, right, we're building that, and here we don't have enough money for a fort. Actually, we do, but what we would do is go into debt. I forgot that you could do this. So the option is not grayed out. I could indeed build this fort and go into debt by like 59 florins. But I'm not going to do that. So we'll wait a little while before we build anything else. All right, so this means that the Picts have just built the most buildings. I think that's all that translates into. All right, do we want an alliance? Nah. All right, good. So your first king is very likely to get the builder trait because he's the one who's going to be overseeing those early, cheap, and quick building projects. Later kings, it's a little bit harder to get up here because you've got to build a lot of already built up provinces, so it's just more expensive and time consuming. All right, 450. Okay, do you have any sons? Okay, this is a marriage offer. No. Shoot. Well, what could we do with her? Keep an eye on the Vikings. So far, they're not at war with anybody, but they do have a boat over here. They could be invading around here because I think some of these provinces start off as held by the rebels. So I'll use her as a spy for the moment. And we do need a governor here and in Clyde, actually. So what did that do? Plus 10 happiness. Okay. This guy, though, seems to be more loyal all of a sudden. I might risk giving him the governance and just hoping that it gets better. But for Gwynedd, we'll give it to the archer. All right. I don't think there's any other special unit provinces. Just Gwent. So I don't need to, like, focus my building on any particular direction. That's right. Mercia could get, like, urban militia, oddly. That was a unique unit for them, so they get an advantage of doing that here. But yeah, I think over here there's like spearmen or something. Or fearedmen. But if there's a spearman province, then, you know, if I take it, that's going to work for me. I think Celtic warriors get a valor bonus somewhere up here, maybe Nathfotla. But it'll be a while before I get there, if I get that far. Okay, so now do we want to go with a fort? Yeah, let's do it. Because one of the units that I get to build as the Welsh is a kind of longbow unit. I think Welsh bandits is the name. They didn't call them longbowmen, I don't think. Alright, good. Plus 1 morale. Oh, minus 1 dread. Yeah, that's actually not bad. We don't need the dread here, I guess. Okay, actually, let's retrain these spearmen. Now, this was before population was a thing, so I don't have to worry about, you know, population mechanics, making sure my provinces have enough people in them or whatever, or getting to the next level based on population. So it was very, very different in that regard. I can just train as many men as I have the money for. Alright, if I go for the drinking hall in Cornwall, that'll allow me to get Celtic warriors. That might be a good idea. If I do this, it's going to get me spearmen. This place does have iron, and that'll allow me eventually to get like the metalsmith. So actually, this might be a good option. It's pretty cheap, and I'll need to do that anyway. Alright, we're spying. Let's see if anyone's taken over East Angle yet. No. Okay, so pretty quiet over here. Doesn't even look like these guys have been in a battle yet, so we'll just keep moving down and see what's going on. See, I'm kind of rejecting these alliance offers because I do want to get some experience for my own emissaries eventually. Alright, so what we do is we put him back in the queue and you retrain him, but it takes a turn. So that's the other thing. Retraining is a bit harder. Not only do you have to bring them back to the province where they can be trained, but you have to manually put them into the queue, and it takes a turn. So I can't queue up another unit and have them both done at the same time. All right, let's see. What do I need? I think I need to do this before I can make archery stuff. So let's go with that. Alright, often drunk. Yeah, this is just getting worse and worse. Let's check the heirs, though, because I do have some others in the wings, or at least one other. I've got Prince Caradoc, who will be coming of age in 5 more turns, and then a ton of princesses. So maybe I shouldn't be too stingy with Mary here. But yeah, nothing's happening over in the east. That Viking boat has moved. So my plan is basically to tech up to the highest level of units and then go to war with proper factions. But until then, I want to just kind of sit tight. This will help with public order as well as morale. Sit tight, kind of tech up, get my infrastructure going. Again, this is not the optimal way to do things, but I find it more fun. A little more interesting too, because you're just giving the AI more of a chance to get really tough units and beat you. Okay, alliance with the Saxons. Now, I might consider this. They're actually allied with the Vikings, which is interesting. You know what? Yeah, I don't want to start trouble with you fellas. Let's see how long it lasts. Yeah, these are the units we'll have to worry about. Saxon Huscarls. All of the English factions can train these guys. Mercians, Northumbrians, as well as the Saxons. And yeah, a little anachronistic. I mean, they've all got the Sutton Hoo helmet, but like a Dane axe or something that looks a little weird. But anyway, very, very tough foot unit. So that'll be really difficult for us to deal with. Which is why it's best to blitz the AI and wipe them out before they even get to that point. Here we go. Poes now looks like a proper settlement. Here, we can upgrade this to a bowyer's workshop, and then I think we might even need to get to the keep level. But yeah, let's do it. Let's go to the bowyer. It's going to improve the valor of those archers, but it's going to be required before we can get to the next level. So that was 300 we're spending. Let's sit tight on that. There we go. See, the public order is edging upward all the time. As soon as it gets to a place where I can have that on very high taxes, I'll move them out. I just saw an invasion, though, didn't I? Did I just see an invasion happen? What was that? I should have been paying more attention. I swear I saw an army. Maybe it was just an agent. Alright, there's no diplomatic messages. No wars. Okay. Must have been an agent moving around. Oh, right. Here it is. Maybe it was this guy. Alright, so who can we leave here? Well, we can leave this guy, the Prince of Gwynedd. Let's see if we can take you two out, and Yeah, you know, that's reasonable. We'll bring them here, and we'll go with a unit of horsemen, because in this army, what are we going to have? Yeah, 2 archers. So I'm going to want to use just a couple horsemen and a unit of infantry, and that should be fine. Let's actually do something here. And we can do butts, which is going to allow us to train archers, which are going to get a valor bonus here. Okay, so actually there is a bit of invasion happening. The Saxons just took Sussex. They did have there was a fort here, but they assaulted it. And let's see what they got in their army. All right, yeah. So they've got they're getting up there. Fearedmen are decent. I think they're better than spearmen. So what we're going to have to rely on is, our Celtic warriors, our archers particularly, and eventually our cav. All right. Could go with some money. That might be a decent option. Because we're allied with them. We've got similar... They're probably not going to invade with this army. Just 3 peasants. So we would probably be okay. So our horsemen have finished. So we've got 2 cav. We've got a Celtic warrior and... Let's see. Do we want to send an archer? I'm a little worried about this guy here. A 5-star general. A great warrior. These units are not the best, but they're decent. So let's actually hold this off. Pretty soon we'll be able to actually train out of Gwent, and then I'll feel a little bit better. So we'll go with... Let's go with a spear unit. Yeah, I don't like how they're building up. All right, great builder. So that's +1 loyalty to everybody. Awesome. And we're still sitting at 4 influence, but we haven't done much. Okay, great. We got very high taxes everywhere now. And here we can build some archers. So let's quickly nip over to Defet and take that out. But if Mercia decides to attack us now, they would just win easily. Although they're training a ton of peasants. So they've got pretty low tier stuff. Let's check the diplomacy. They're allied with the Northumbrians. That's annoying. They're also allied with the Saxons. Actually, no. The Northumbrians are allied with the Saxons. Okay, that's annoying. Mercians, I could attack. But I don't want to because they're so strong. Alright, well, we got to take Welsh land first. That's the parameters I'm setting for myself. Alright, so let's just get morale added onto these archers. We're going to invade here, and this is going to be fine. We're going to have to basically rush their archers, but they don't have any good command. Alright, so let's go over here with a stockade. All right, yeah, let's do it. Looks like they're going to have... well, we might have the hills, actually. Oh, I should have attacked in the rain. I don't have any archers. In this game, the actual... the rain does affect your archers. It's not just, whether they can do flaming arrows or not. It's... Okay, so why did they get the hill? That doesn't seem fair. Yeah, they're up here. Oh, they're right up there. There they are. Okay, so we'll get over here. And we can kind of work just under that rock face over towards them. fast forward though on this. I mean, for the fact that the units here move really slow at regular speed, fast forward is not messing around. Like, if you're not careful, you can really get into some trouble. All right, so let's send our prince in. Archers are just such soft targets in this game because they will run away the whole time and will just not put up a fight. So they're not going to stand and melee with you. So you'll get a bunch of free kills as long as you can catch them. You'll have to watch out for running into these Celtic warriors. Okay, here they're meleeing with us, so that's a little bit of a problem. Alright, and the Celtic warriors are going after my prince. Let's pull out. Alright, just as those archers decided to rout, Celtic warriors caught up with me. Actually, let's bring the horsemen down here. Chase the archers off and engage with our infantry. And I forgot about the spearmen, so let's bring them back. Should be good here. Yeah, they're running away. Great. And they're not running away yet. These archers here. Okay, there they go. So we'll get our prince set up, and then we'll do a charge into the rear. They're evenly matched. I think eventually we would win, just based on the numbers. Let's see how this charge goes. Nice. There's something so satisfying about how these battles play out. I don't know what it is. Is it the speed? Is it the like the slow speed? Is that part of it? Because you can really set up your maneuvers, and also it takes longer for things to happen. So as a result, you feel more vindicated when you pull something off and it works, because you can't just quickly react a lot of the time. It might just be the sound. I mean, honestly, the sound of a charge hitting and killing a bunch of guys is just really satisfying. Okay, so we've got the rebels. We've got 553 florins off these confiscated lands, and we'll execute them all again. We'll just see how that works. We'll work up that dread. Okay, the Picts. Now, the nice thing about this tells you where the relevant king is located. So the reason Moire is showing up here is not that it's their capital or anything, I think. It's that this is where their king is located. So anytime you get a faction message, it gives you that information. It's kind of useful because, well, if you attack a province where the king is located and you have overwhelming strength, the army will just leave. The king is not going to retreat to the stronghold. In other words, you will just get the province without having to fight. So it's useful to know that. Okay, he wants an alliance. He is allied with the Mercians. Now, I could ally with him. I could attack Mercia, or I could attack anybody, and then theoretically he might join me. But do I want an alliance with them? Let's say no, because I would like to attack them. All right, tough justice. Here we go. He is draconian in his measures when suppressing rebellions, executing everyone involved, and many innocents around him. No one is safe. +3 dead. Dread. -10 happiness. Okay, so there is a downside. So yeah, he's pretty dreadful. That's hurting public order, and that was not good. Just as I took this new province. Ooh, but Defit has an abbey, which is generating 200 florins per turn. It also has basic farms. Now, did Gwynedd have that? Gwynedd did have basic farms, but I think nothing else. So this is great. We're going to have to defend this. The thing about abbeys is they take forever to build. Can we build one here? Yeah. So 2,000 florins and 12 years. 1 turn per year in this game, so 12 turns. So because of the investment of time and money, it's you want to protect them. because they do give you some nice return, but especially when you conquer them so you don't have to build them yourself. The thing is, it again takes a long time before you can get the infrastructure built up to build a nice fort to defend it. So we're going to have to get going on that. But I think this makes a great point to stop. We have conquered all of Wales and Cornwall, and we now have to make a decision about where to invade next, what to do. Do we want to get some emissaries around, see what Ireland looks like, see if we can do anything up in the north? A lot of times Reggit is a rebel settlement that doesn't get conquered until quite a bit later. So we might see what's going on there, maybe the Island of Man. In any case, folks, thank you for joining me in this first episode of our Welsh Viking Invasion Let's Play. I hope you'll stick around for the next one. Until then, everybody, take care.